So today we have Melissa Pribble with us from the Bounce Back Project, and she's going to be promoting health through happiness. And I had the privilege of seeing one of Melissa's previous presentations in one of my Centricare trainings. And it really, really resonated with me because as healthcare providers, we encounter some heavy things with our patients. So I think it's good information for all of us to have on just to keep our mindset and our thought process positive so we can navigate some rough waters at times.
Yeah, and if you're not happier after this talk, we actually will refund your money.
Kurt said I was happier after her presentation.
Yeah, we'll give all your money back. So next slide. Again, so for some of the other announcements, we got some great talks coming up. I think next week, for those of you who are maybe considering in your communities putting hepatitis treatment in there, you want to be there. This is the PA who runs it at Hennepin County. And our friends at Hennepin got us connected to him. So should be great. So make sure that you tune in for that.
So there is free CME offered with these sessions, and we really don't care if you're eating lunch. We just want to see your bright beaming faces. So please turn your camera on so we can interact.
Yeah, we have a drawing for prizes for people who turn on the video. Okay, that's not true either, but we still like to see your video, and then Melissa has people to talk to. So remember, if you need some technical assistance, please feel free to reach out. Always happy to talk to you about a patient or a problem. So both Aaron and I are available when needed.
And Stratus Health is the home for the core website for any of your resource needs, opioid or addiction surrounded.
All right, so we have Melissa, and I probably murder your last name here, but it's just Pribble, right? Okay, very simple. So we'll let her unmute and we'll let her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about what she does at Centricare, and then we will enjoy her happy talk. So.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, you guys, for the great introduction. And yeah, I would love if a few people would put their videos on. It's much easier to present when there's faces and I can see emotion and head nods and things like that. Gives me a little confirmation that what I'm saying is ringing true. So I'm happy to be here this afternoon and thankful for the invitation to share Bounce Back Project with your group. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen here. Let's see. There we go. And then we'll just roll right into things here. So Bounce Back Project is all about promoting health through happiness, as Kurt and Aaron just mentioned. And it is an initiative of Centricare right there in the Community Health Improvement Team, which I'm a member of. I'm a registered nurse, been a nurse for almost 30 years, and I've worked at Centricare for 22 of those years, doing cardiac nursing, emergency department nursing, but now I'm a member of the Community Health Improvement Team. And with great support of our leadership, we get to do a lot of community-facing projects. We're about 50% community-facing, 50% patient-facing is what we like to say. We are community health improvement and health equity, which falls under the population health umbrella at Centricare. And we have lots of standard work areas. You will see that our presentation and the work of Bounce Back Project kind of falls under our mental health and well-being bucket. And then we also have health education, promotion, prevention, connection and collaboration. And then one of our mainstays of our work is our outreach on social determinants of health, really connecting all of our patients to the resources that they need most to live a healthier, happier life and stay out of our walls, right? If we can help it, right? Let's keep them healthy and in our communities. So, all right, let's get started with our presentation this afternoon. So Bounce Back Project is a community-wide initiative really promoting health through happiness that started quite a few years ago, back in 2015. But I want to give you just a little bit of history about Bounce Back Project and why it got started in the first place. So it was a grassroots effort that started right in Wright County, the area in Minnesota where Monticello and Buffalo are small communities, rural communities not too far from the St. Cloud area. And it got started, unfortunately, out of a sense of loss. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, Centricare Monticello is located along the beautiful Mississippi River, and right next to it is an independent physician-owned clinic called Stellus Health. We're connected by hallway. We share the same parking lot, but they are not a Centricare clinic, just one of our great partners in the work that we do. 10 miles south of us is Buffalo, Minnesota, where they have an Allina Health Hospital and another Stellus Health Clinic, and then a third one in Albertville. And so I tell you that because I want you to realize the relationship that we have to take care of the healthcare needs of Wright County. So even though we're 10 miles apart by distance and CentraCare and Allina are a little bit of a competitor, of course, as you know, we're great partners in the work of health. We've always worked really well together. Our patients go back and forth to each of those clinics. And so it's been a really great working relationship for many, many years. And in 2014, we lost 2 physician partners from our healthcare team, if you will. One of those doctors who was an OBGYN, he, delivered half the babies in our county. And he was out for a motorcycle ride on a beautiful Saturday afternoon when a golf cart, of all things, crossed in front of his path. And he was killed instantly. And that was really, really tough on our healthcare teams, of course, taking care of his patients who were due to be delivered in the next weeks and months ahead. He had a family with 4 children of his own. And so you can imagine the loss of this friend and colleague was big. And it was a stark reminder for all of us to live each day to the fullest, because you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And so as we are kind of waiting, moving forward, trying to figure out how to take care of all of the needs of his patients, his families, ourselves, we lost another colleague and friend just 3 months later to the day. So exactly 90 days later, we lost the pediatrician for that group. He died by suicide and took his life at the hospital that day. Died by suicide at our workplace. And again, that was a shock to all of us. Oh my goodness, here we go again, kind of feelings, right? Now we've just lost another friend and colleague, and this time to suicide. And the hardest part was that nobody knew what was going on, right? So here's a gentleman that's surrounded by health caregivers every single day, care providers all day long, every single day, and nobody saw what was going on. Wonder, the questions that arose at that time, like, what did we miss? Why didn't he come to us? Why didn't we see something was happening? And we'll never know the answers to those questions. But at that same time, our healthcare organizations were being reached out to by our local high schools. In our general area of Wright and Sherburne County, right next door to us, there was a lot of school districts that were asking for healthcare help because they were facing teen suicides. We had 7 completed teen suicides around that very same time. So it was a really heavy time in our local communities. And our healthcare group said that something needs to change. And so when our leadership from Allina, CentraCare, and Stellus Health were at a resiliency conference in the Twin Cities area shortly thereafter, they said, you know what, we need to bring this message of resiliency back to our healthcare teams. But why stop there? Our whole community needs this right now. And so Bounce Back Project was created at that time to bring that message of resiliency back to our local communities and promote health through happiness. So we've been doing that for 8 years strong. It is a unique collaborative of nurses and physicians and healthcare leadership. We've always had full support from our leadership, even at the highest level within CentraCare. Our community members have gotten on board and done small off-reach projects right within their own communities. But our sole goal and our purpose is really to impact the lives of individuals and organizations and our communities by promoting health through happiness. Now, Allina, our partner, when we got started, had stepped back a few years ago, right around pre-pandemic, I suppose, to focus on their own resiliency project. So Bounce Back Project is now solely part of CentraCare, an initiative that we've been working on now. I've been a part of this for about 8 years, but now our whole community health improvement team is on board. So we have a lot more team members working on this initiative that really allows us to spread it further and wider throughout our CentraCare and Central Minnesota platform. So what is it and how do we do this, right? So we do kind of what we're doing today. We do presentations in our communities, whether that's with faith groups or business partners. We work really closely with our school districts, middle schools and high schools and the staffs. Lots of different presentations. And the purpose of sharing this message of resiliency is really to expand resilience by helping people focus on the positives, right? Really retraining our minds to focus on the positives that are literally in front of us every day for the most part, right? Thereby increasing feelings of well-being and decreasing feelings of depression. So we're going to kind of run through quickly the first 4 tools of our resilience message today: random acts of kindness, 3 good things, gratitude and social connections. But our team does have further messages on mindfulness and self-care, the importance of purpose, and then also confidence and adaptability. So if there's a message there that resonates with you and you would like one of our group to come out and share that message with you, we can certainly look to do that. So let's get started with just a quick review on resilience. Most of us have heard this word, right, throughout our healthcare years and our careers, but it doesn't hurt to have a good reminder that resilience is really about our ability to bounce back from the stressful parts of life. Now, we're not fooling anyone, are we, if we think we're going to just, avoid stress somehow, because as human beings, we're going to have a lot of wonderful days. But there's going to be some days along our way that are going to just really push us right back on our seat, right? They're going to hit us out of the blue, and a lot of times when we least expect it, right? By a phone call, a text message that changes everything for the course of the day. So how do we make sure that we are using good coping skills and we develop some of those to deal with these stressful situations when they come? And learning how to better take care of ourselves so that we are prepared when life does give us a bit of this, right? And being resilient throughout our everyday life just allows us to be a healthier version of ourselves. Can't beat that. So I was at a conference last fall and they talked about a new definition of resiliency. And it really talked about how resilience, we're not going back to that normalcy that we so looked for those last couple of years, but how life looks like going forward. And I really like that of what could we embrace as new challenges and new opportunities to overcome. So our message of resiliency kind of comes from these 5 pillars that you see on the screen here. Now, we won't dedicate time to each of them today, but thinking about self-care, I think all of us as healthcare providers and healthcare givers and the jobs and the roles that we play, we know that it's absolutely necessary to take care of us. As we head into this busy holiday season, if we don't take care of us, we will have nothing left to give those that mean the most to us. And that might be our families at home waiting for us at the end of the day. It might be the patients that we serve on a daily basis. If we don't get good sleep, if we don't take time to, have a great lunch, if we don't take time for us to enjoy nature or take your dog for a walk or take a hot bath or read or whatever it might be, we don't do so well ourselves, right? How about self-awareness? What we do and say matters, right? As professionals, no matter where that is we work, there's people who look up to us for advice and things like that. So what we do and say in this world really does matter and is a reflection of ourselves. Purpose. I hope you have purpose outside of just punching in each day, right? What do you do outside of your work day to really bring you joy and a smile to your face? Having purpose outside of work is a really great source of resilience. And then mindfulness. How can we focus on this day? Because it's the only day we have control of, right? Can't fret about tomorrow because it's not here yet. Don't worry so much about yesterday because it's already passed. So focusing on what this day has to give. And then we'll talk a little bit about relationships as we go into our connections piece. All right, so I guess my picture is just a tiny bit blurry, but I got a question for you. Has anyone's resilience been tested lately? Yeah, absolutely, right? Life pulls us in all these different directions, whether that's your work, right? Maybe a health concern of you or your family members. What does your journey look like? Is it got a little bit of a crook in the road, right? There's our family things. There's just life. Life pulls us in many directions, and young and old, our resilience will be tested as we go throughout our daily lives. And so all of us need, I think, a quick and simple reminder of how to keep ourselves in tip-top shape. The best part about resilience is studies show that we can all learn to do it better. So for many years, it was either thought you were born resilient or not. Right? We all know people, I think, in our lives that are like, cup half full kind of people, right? No matter what life throws at them, they do it. They just take it on. They got a smile on their face. They do it with grace. They get through it. And then we also know other people in our lives who like sit too long at a red light and they're like, let's get out of here, man. Let's get moving, right? And life just throws them a bit of a curveball each and every day. Well, we also know, like when you look at the picture on the screen, does it look like a cup half full or a cup half empty? Well, either answer is correct, right? But we all know that there's, a different viewpoint, a different lens that people in this world kind of have. I, by nature, am a cup half full kind of gal, right? That's how my parents were. That's how I am. I feel blessed to have that. But I will say, and I do it lovingly, that my husband and his whole entire family are cup half empty kind of folks. That's literally just who they are, right? But we see that within our own families, within our workplaces, within the teams that we work with, right? Where we have different viewpoints with the patients that we take care of. We sometimes struggle to get people on that positive outlook, but we know now that the more we practice being resilient, the better we get at it. And we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for a bit of progress, and consistency is really the key. So that's really what we're looking for here. And we know that resilience does help you live longer. Studies show that you can gain quite a few years, almost up to 10 more years, by being resilient throughout your everyday life. So I think to myself, like, why didn't anybody share this with all of us in middle school, right? We could have been benefiting from this all along. But fortunately, our team at CentraCare gets to do that now. We work really closely in the schools, our middle school and high school areas, to share the message of resiliency and try to raise that next resilient group of young folks. But there are different components of resiliency that we need to be aware of. One of which is our physical resilience. I think we're most familiar with that, right? From a young age, we learn stay busy, keep moving, eat healthy, stay active, all of those good things. But there's also components such as our mental resilience. How do we make sure that we are tackling tiny goals that boost our brain's willpower, our body's willpower as we go throughout our daily lives? Maybe that's to finish a jigsaw puzzle or a word puzzle on your phone each day. Maybe that's to set out to run a 5K or a half marathon in the spring. Or maybe you've set a goal to finish another class at the local community college, right? Whatever it might be, how do we make sure that we're doing small challenges on a daily basis so that when the big ones come, they don't overwhelm us so much? How about emotional resilience? How do we make sure that we're achieving that 3-to-1 positive emotion ratio on a daily basis? And what that really boils down to is it takes about 3 positive thoughts to outweigh every one negative thought. And one study I read recently was a 5-to-1 ratio. So it takes a whole lot of positivity to outweigh those negatives that are big and bold in our lives. And then lastly, social resilience. How do we make sure that we are building and maintaining relationships with people that are important to us? All right, so let's get started. We're going to review a couple quick, easy resilience tools because we want you guys and the teams that you work for and support, and ultimately the patients that some of us take care of, to be at our very best, right? To keep ourselves healthy and resilient and living a longer life. So when our Bounce Back project first got started, way back in 2015, as I mentioned, we started with random acts of kindness in our local communities of Buffalo and Monticello. We figured it was a great place to start, an easy place to kick off with, because most people were doing kind things anyway, right? It was familiar to people. But what we wanted people to know from the health perspective is that as they did random act of kindness in their communities for others, they were actually increasing that other person's happiness for up to 24 hours. As you do a random act of kindness, that oxytocin is released, right? That hormone, the trust hormone, the love hormone. It's not only released in us, but it's released in the people who are on the receiving end and can help increase their happiness for 24 hours. So as you're, baking Christmas cookies and sharing them with a neighbor, or perhaps you're pulling the garbage can back up to the top of the driveway and your neighbor's along as well, or maybe you're raking leaves or getting ready to shovel snow for one of your elderly neighbors. All of those things have a way of increasing their happiness for a full day. But what you might not be aware of is that as we do kind things for someone else, our own happiness increases for up to 2 weeks. And there's the win, right? As we are doing kind gestures, hopefully at work and in our communities with our families, we are slowly and steadily keeping our happiness at its tip-top level, right? So those random acts of kindness that you've been doing just because they feel good to do for someone else are really benefiting you even greater than the recipient. So Dr. Martin Seligman, who's a guru on resilience, says just this: doing an act of kindness produces that single most reliable momentary increase in well-being than any exercise that's been tested. So think about all the things we see people do for their physical health, right? People are running down the path in the bitter cold, and people are playing pickleball and dodgeball and lifting weights and playing tennis and doing yoga and all those great things for their physical health. But kindness can play a big role when we talk about that mental and emotional component of resiliency that we just alluded to. So that's where kindness can really come into play. So we asked our communities, what have you seen? What have you done? And we've done this challenge and asked many, many times over the years. This one was done via email way back in the day. On the left-hand side there, you see a $10 tip for someone at one of the local hotels. And with that, a little random act of kindness sticky note. If I were with you in person, I'd be sharing with some of those sticky notes with you today, because I want you to be reminded that kindness doesn't have to come with a price. Kindness can come with a power of piece of paper and pen, right? So, think of all the sticky notes that we all have on our desk or around our workspaces. Why not write a note of kindness to someone that you work with today? Like, hey, thanks for all your help today. You really made the day go better. Or thanks for putting on the coffee this morning. What a great start to my day. Or I'm so glad you baked that banana bread. Without you, I wouldn't have had lunch, right? Or thanks for bringing your sense of humor to the workplace. I always look forward to working with you because you make me laugh so hard, right? Power of piece of paper and pen, and kindness can come in that regard. The bottom left is a little healthcare humor. People in healthcare understand that that's a bunch of candy in a bedpan, right? A clean bedpan, as you will. When you work nights in the emergency room and you can't find a bowl, you'll use whatever you can get your hands on, and a bedpan it was that day. But we shared some candy in that regard. $5 in the Redbox DVD. Somebody who rented that movie found $5 and a little note that says, "Enjoy some snacks on us." Yeah, maybe they got some milk duds or hot tamales or something like that to enjoy their movie. In the middle, there's some extra quarters on a little instant joy card that says, consider this a random act of kindness. So we hand those out by the thousands as we do presentations in our communities. We've partnered with our local school districts with our logo and their logo to really, as you're doing something kind, to pass it forward by handing that card with your kind gesture and having you share it going forward to create that ripple effect of kindness that we know can happen in our communities. And lastly, I want to point out the Cub gift card. So that was done by a group of high school students. So they were learning about kindness and the random act of kindness and the benefits of doing such. And so they wanted to share, they were at an alternative learning program high school, and they wanted to share some kind gestures in their community. So they went to the local Cub Foods and they bought $10 gift cards. First, they collected their very own money. These were high school students, and they came up with $140, which I thought was pretty good on their part. And when they got to Cub Foods matched their gift. So now they had $280 in $10 gift cards to hand out to people in their communities. So then they had to figure out who was going to be the recipients of their cards. So they figured out anybody who drove in a crappy car and anybody who came in with more than one kid. I thought those were pretty creative delineators for who received the cards that day. So they imagine the joy that these kids got to see by handing out $10 cards for someone to buy more groceries or maybe to get diapers for their children. But what they took home, that message of what the kindness did for them, hopefully had long-lasting effects, and that they learned a lesson that they could take forward in life. So think about where this challenge could show up for you. Perhaps you're a leader within your team or your organization. Do you send a Friday email? Could you ask your team to do something kind this week? Take a picture and share it with your whole entire team on Friday. Maybe you could do a little team challenge, right? That you say, hey, let's all do something kind in our community over the next week. And then we're going to talk about it at next Monday's meeting. Knowing and then tell them why kindness is so important. Not just because it feels good, but because it helps increase your own happiness and makes you a much more resilient person. So a challenge for all of you to try that. And it's not only when we're doing things that it matters to us, but actually people who just innocently witness your random acts of kindness also benefit as well. It just so happens as we're releasing that oxytocin, those endorphins in our body, innocent bystanders actually have a little release as well, thereby increasing their level of generosity and kindness that we know does create that ripple effect of kindness. We see it at coffee shops, right? We see it at the drive-through difference. We see it at the hanging red kettle this time of year, right? If I see people walking into Walmart or Target and they're putting money in the red kettle, I am digging in my pockets because I want to do the same, right? So kindness matters. And when we witness kindness happening, I think it gives us that pause, that sense of that peak experience of gratitude and our ability to really be content with our own state of life. As I see people helping others, I'm like, you know what? I'm a pretty lucky person. Even though today might not have been my greatest day, I have a car, I'm sitting in a warm car with a tank full of gas, driving home to a house with a cupboard full of food, right? We have so much to be thankful for, even on the hardest days. We're very lucky people. All right, moving on to 3 good things, you guys. This is a really easy tool, and it's so simple. It is simply writing down 3 good things every day. Remember that whole 3-to-1 positive emotion ratio? Well, what studies show is that as we write down 3 good things every day, if we do it for 2 weeks of time, we can actually increase our happiness for up to 6 months. 6 months, you're like, how in the world is that so beneficial from such a simple exercise? Well, studies show that what happens over the 2 weeks of time is you are actually retraining your brain to focus on the positives that are right in front of you every day. Because have you ever had that someone walked up to you and go, hey, Kurt, how are you doing? And Kurt might say, oh my gosh, I'm looking forward. My family, we have a vacation planned in February. That's going to be great. Or, somebody might say, I have a kid graduating in May, and, then we got all our kids out of high school, or we're going to, remodel our house starting in September when I head off to college. No, don't get me wrong. Those are wonderful things, but they might not get you through this tough day, right? So what happened in this day that was really great? Maybe you had a wonderful cup of coffee this morning. Maybe you hit all green lights on the way into work and then screeched into a nice parking spot as well. Now, isn't that a good day? Maybe your kids had all their backpacks packed and ready to go out the door this morning in a timely fashion. Maybe your dog came back in on the first call. Yay, right? Good start to the morning. Maybe your spouse put the coffee on and it was all percolating and smelling good by the time you hit the kitchen this morning, right? Hopefully there's good things that happened in your day, but not to look outside of this day for good things. And as we do it routinely, we start to look for it, to write it down as our assignment that night, right? And when we do that exercise, it's very beneficial to all of us. Research does show that there's less burnout and depression. There's better work-life balance. There's less conflict at work, home, and school as we're looking for those positive things throughout our day. Higher levels of happiness, as we just reported. And then certainly, if you do it at bedtime, that last 2 wakeful hours of our day where our brain sort of perseverates around that information that we covered during those last 2 hours, hey, you go to sleep with a much more peaceful mind, right? Instead of crawling into bed and rehashing about the list that didn't get done or the things you got on your list for tomorrow, why not focus on the good things that happened in this day and do it routinely, right? This is found to be so beneficial that the doctors at Stellus Health, the clinics that I mentioned to you, they actually prescribe this to their patients. I hand out a template that I've handed out to all the school kids over the years and probably 20,000 of them since. And I can send it to Kurt and Aaron to share with your group. But it's literally 14 days of 3 good things, because this exercise is found to be as beneficial for depression and anxiety as taking some of the SSRIs such as Prozac, Zoloft, and it works instantly. You don't have to wait for a therapeutic blood level. So why not give it a try, especially for some of those patients who are resistant to taking medications, right? And hey, if you're a caregiver, I always, when I talk to our nurses within Central Care, I'm like, don't be afraid to write 1, 2, 3 on the bottom of that whiteboard in the patients' rooms. Do you think our patients are sitting at their best every day, right? They probably don't always come to us at their best. So why not help them find something good in their day? So if you're a nurse and you're going into a room to meet a patient, right? As you're hanging another IV bag or antibiotic, or as you're introducing yourself for the next 12-hour shift, why not ask them about something good that happened in their day? Maybe they had a visitor from a family member. Maybe they walked 75 feet for the first time in a week. Maybe they got new slippers and they're feeling comfy on their feet. Or maybe they got a good nap this afternoon, right? Not help them focus on the positives. And we know that our coworkers need that many days as well. So right now, I would love for you to think of something good that happened in your day already. And if you could, I would love for you to write it in the chat so we can share with each other some of the really great things that have already happened in our day. So go ahead now, if you will, and write something in the chat so we can all see the good stuff that's happening. Sunrise. That was a beautiful sunrise this morning. Absolutely. Pinks and blues. It was beautiful. You were his best friend. I love that. That's so good. Oh, a donut for breakfast. Hey, can't beat a good start to the day. I love that, Scott. Good. Feeling better. I love that. Went for a walk during lunch today. Yes, we're really reveling in this wonderful weather that we're experiencing in December in Minnesota. Oh, repair bills. Nothing quite like it, right? The unexpected. Your dog made an ornament. I love that. Zumbrota, great breakfast in Zumbrota. Getting some housework done, your tasks done. Love that. Oh, and the basement's getting finished. All right. So what you wrote in there, thank you for sharing. Those are everyday good things. Did you notice? None of them huge and momentous. Good stuff. Everyday good stuff. And that's exactly what they should be. If you're thinking too long and too hard on a good thing, you're overlooking the whole point, right? You want them to be everyday good things, like a great bottle of water, or maybe a snack from the vending machine to get you through the afternoon, or maybe a walk with your dog and petting your cat or whatever it might be. Short walk in the sun. Absolutely, Haley. I love it, you guys. So thank you so much for sharing those things. That's exactly what we want to keep it. Those things that are right in front of us. And the reason being is that the negatives scream at us and the positives only whisper. Now, isn't that the truth in this world, right? When something negative happens, it becomes big and bold and overwhelming and all-consuming at times. I mean, think about those things that happened in past relationships, or maybe in a former job, or maybe just this morning on your way out of the house, right? Or with a patient interaction that you had earlier today. If it didn't go well, it comes with, negative emotions such as anger and fear and anxiety and embarrassment and things like that. But it also tends to stick in our craw. It sits right back there when we're not at our best. The negatives seem to rear their ugly heads again, right? No matter when they happened. And we've all heard of, and as caregivers, right, of adverse childhood experiences, those things that happened in people's youth that kind of affect them into their adult years. Absolutely. But that's not just the patients we take care of. That's us. That's our coworkers. We all have these things that have happened that affect who we are in this day and age. So the negatives seem to linger there. And the reason being is because we as human beings are hardwired to remember the negative, right? That's literally how our brains are built. And that is to keep us from, danger and injury and illness and things that'll bring us harm, right? And repeating past mistakes. But consequently, some of them last for a lifetime, right? So we have to be focused on the positives, or the negatives will just overwhelm us. And we know that negatives can come really, really quite simply, right? A phone call from a family member that changes everything. A text message from your spouse or one of your children. A call light that goes off and all chaos ensues inside that room, right? It doesn't happen fast, it doesn't take long for our days to change. And so we have to be focusing on the good stuff to get through those really rough patches. And if you're filling out your 3 good things sheet today and you can't find anything to put on your list, you go back to this list that's so simple about the best things in life that are free. On any given day, we have friends and family who are there for us, even at our best, and certainly for us in our worst days as well. How about getting good sleep? Hey, there's nothing quite like a good nap on a Saturday afternoon or a few extra minutes of sleep in the morning. How about good memories? We've certainly made good memories in the past. And even if this day is tough, just know that good memories are on the other side as well, right? And that certainly more of those are going to come. How many of you laugh at work? Oh my gosh, I hope it's a whole bunch of you, right? Laughter is so healthy. It's free, it's contagious, it lowers your blood pressure, boosts your immune system. There's nothing quite like laughter. So as potentially a leader for your teams or someone amongst a group of coworkers, find laughter, bring laughter, share laughter. Whether it's a short YouTube video on your Friday email, or it's a joke that your family's passed around for generations, find ways to laugh together, because there's nothing quite like laughter to build up and be a really great part of your day. All right, you guys, we are moving on to gratitude. Gratitude, what I like to call the powerful beast. And this is probably why, right? Is this not the world we live in, you guys? This is what's so necessary, right? This is the world we live in. People want things and they want it done now and they want it done perfectly. And if they don't like what's happening, they will let you know, right? We have people who will complain at retail, right? There's not enough checkout lanes open. You hear it all the time, right? In restaurants, my steak's not cooked right. What's taking this meal so long? We hear it in healthcare. I worked in the emergency room for many years, and I'll never forget how many times we put patients in a room and 5 to 7 minutes later, they were sticking their head out the door. Hey, is there a doctor here? And I'm like, it's an emergency room, not a drive-through, right? So, I mean, people want things to happen and they want it in a timely fashion. And if they don't like it, they'll ask to speak to the boss. They'll write something on social media and then 85 people will respond, right? They will write a letter to the old-fashioned editor, whatever it might be. But how do we shift the line to the right, you guys? How do we find more gratitude in our daily lives? How do we model it for the teams that we're part of, for our own children, our grandchildren? How do we mentor it to those newest people on our team so that we can build a life that's full of gratitude and raise that next generation of more gracious people as well? I'm not sure how to do it, but I know there's really good benefits from doing so. If we live a life of gratitude, there's so many health benefits that come with that. decrease depression, and increase feelings of well-being. Better working memory. And I don't know about you guys, but I'll take every extra stitch of memory I can get at this point in life, right? Improve sleep. Because again, like 3 good things, you are focusing on what you're thankful for in your everyday life, right? Even the small wins. Thankful for what life gives you. You stay healthier because your immune system functions better. You have better relationships with other people because if you are living a life of gratitude, you're the kind of friend I want to hang around. You're the kind of person I want to pick up a shift for. You're the kind of person I want to hire or have as my manager or boss or leader, is somebody who finds gratitude even in the smallest things, right? That's the kind of person I want to meet, be a hang around. We've all met the negative Nates and Nellies of this world, have we not? Man, it's exhausting to hang around them or spend any time with them, right? So we don't want to be that person. We want to find gratitude in even the smallest wins. And then certainly if we have gratitude in our everyday life, we can handle when life does do this. The highs stay a little bit higher and the lows might not go quite so low. At Bounce Back Project, we like to say, you know what? You can visit misery, but you can't live there. Right? Isn't that true? You know, we all have those days where it doesn't go as planned. And we might need a day to sort of, as human beings, just kind of wallow in it for a day, like, dang, that did not go as I had planned. And that's okay. But we also know that if we're healthy, we got to get back up. We can't stay living in that space because we've also all met that person or taken care of that person, right, who lives down here. They don't do so well. They don't stay healthy. They don't live long. They don't mend well. Negativity doesn't have a really lot of great outcomes from it. So we have to get back. And sometimes we have to help, we have to reach out and help other people get back up as well. Members of our team, members of our family, people that are close to us. So gratitude has a huge piece in our resilience. So make sure that you're finding ways to share gratitude. Our Bounce Back Project does this in many different ways in our community. And so this is, again, to show you the power of a piece of paper and pen. When we're out doing community events, we a lot of times just use a piece of paper. And this one particular event was an outdoor event in Monticello years ago. We rolled out a piece of paper that said, Monticello, what are you grateful for? So again, just having people be thinking about gratitude in their lives. So we filled up 2 boards that day. People wrote faith and family and friends and dogs and watermelon and baseball and my husband of 29 years and all these different things. But there's 2 people that stuck with me from the event that day. And one of those was a gal who was in her later years, probably in her 70s to 80s. And she was in a wheelchair that day because she had an above the knee amputation on one side. And so I was helping her get situated to write on her board. When she left, I saw that she wrote she was most grateful for her grandchildren and her one good leg. And I thought, now that lady's got it figured out. I could be friends with her, right? Because instead of harping through life about the leg she's missing, she's most grateful for the one she still has. I love that. Then there was this little guy. He was like 3 or 4 years old. We were handing out beach balls that day. And I asked this little guy, I said, what makes you happy, buddy? And he said, keys. He literally answered me that fast. And I was like, keys? And quiche? I don't know. I looked at his grandma for clarification and she goes, oh, yeah, keys. Keys. Remember those little plastic keys we all had as kids, or the junk drawer keys that we all still have, Yeah, that little guy loves keys. That was his answer. Like, what 3 or 4-year-old answers keys that makes him happy? But I tell you that because what a good reminder that something so simple in this life can bring us great joy. Right? What are you grateful for that can turn around a not so great day? Me, Dove chocolates. Oh my gosh, I love Dove chocolates, right? A little piece of chocolate can turn my day around, right? Things like that. Cheese, like what Kurt just said, cheese. I love cheese too, But sometimes it's your favorite snack from the vending machine. It's just been one of those crappy afternoons and you're like, I am going to go get myself a fresh Diet Mountain Dew or Diet Coke, something like that. Or maybe you're one of those people. Yep. See, I see he's got a little refreshment there. Maybe you're one of those people that, like, this hasn't been a great day. When I get home, I am taking my dog for a walk. I just need some nature. I need to regroup and no talking, right? My dog loves me no matter what. Or maybe you crank the music on your way home and you just let the music blare and it's 80s rock or whatever it might be, or singing Christmas carols at the top of your lungs, whatever it might be. But we all need that little piece of gratitude that can get us through those tough moments. So right now, I would like you to think about that little something beyond family and friends that gets you through a not so easy day, right? What's that little piece of gratitude that you are so thankful for? And put it in the chat, if you will. What's that little something that can turn a bad day around? Faith, absolutely. Drumming. And Tim, you can do that anywhere, right? Little tap, tap, tap on the whatever table you're by. Or a real set, yes. Music and running. Chocolate milk. So good. Christmas lights. Yes, I saw some beautiful ones last night at the Sartell Community Center when I was there for a presentation. They're beautiful. What else are you grateful for? Cardinals. Yes. Yes. Seeing them outside the window. A good hike and we've had beautiful weather for that. Barbecue, Scott, all times of the year, hopefully. Yes. Good stuff there. I love that because we have to be thinking about, like, what if we're not having a great day? How are we going to turn that around? We can't take that home with us, right? We don't want our most loved ones to bear the brunt of our not so good days, right? So what are we grateful for? Maybe if Scott's not having a good day, he's like, you know what? I'm going to pick up some chicken legs and I'm going to do some grilling on the barbecue, right? Or maybe somebody who knows music makes a difference in a hike. They put on their earbuds and out they go, right? So that we can turn things around. So yes, it's a great thing to do. And where can a gratitude board like this show up for you guys? Right? Can this show up in your break room? Do you have a whiteboard space that's not being utilized? Do you got those big 3M sticky notes that we all have in our organizations? Ask people, what are you grateful for? And encourage them to write things down because we learn from each other when we read about other people's gratitude, right? And then it is the season of gratitude between Thanksgiving and Christmas right now. So why not? Maybe you did it at your Thanksgiving table, but as we head into these holiday gatherings, ask people what they're thankful for, right? What kind of gratitude do they have in their lives? Because we know it matters. And at Bounce Back Project, we really promote writing a letter of gratitude. Studies show that when you write a letter of gratitude to someone who's made a difference in your life, you can increase your happiness again by up to 6 months. 6 months, you guys, and decrease depression for 1 to 3 months. Another simple and amazing tool that all of us have the capability to do. We're talking thank you note size, right? 250 words or less to someone who's made a difference in your life, whether that's a family, a friend, or coworker, a mentor, a former coach. Most of us didn't get to this place in life without some help along the way, right? Whether there was somebody watching our young children as we finished our degree, or maybe you had a coach or mentor who really pushed you in the direction that you ended up. And you're like, I'm so thankful that they helped me open my eyes to this profession. Or maybe you had a coach who made you fall in love with little kids football, and now you're a football coach on Saturday mornings. Or maybe you had somebody who taught you the love of gardening, and now you have the best garden on the block, right? And you share veggies all fall long. So who has inspired you, and who could you write a letter of gratitude to? I will also encourage you, if you are a leader within your realm, to write gratitude letters to your team. Now I'm talking about, a simple letter of gratitude, and don't just stick it in their mailbox at work. I encourage you to mail it to their house, like a good old-fashioned stamp, right? And mail it to their house and say, I am so grateful for you as one of our team members. You bring a smile to work each morning. You're always punched in and ready to go. You serve our patients well. I love your energy. And the fact that you bring brownies on Fridays. I don't know, whatever it might be, right? Let your people know they matter. And when next time you're at the dollar store, I encourage you to grab a 6 or 8 pack of blank cards, because why not have them at the ready? So when a moment of gratitude strikes you, you're willing to send that gratitude letter out. Getting those emotions from here to them. It's so important. So make a commitment to write a few letters of gratitude, if you will. All right, moving on to our last topic of social connections. I'm a people person. As you can tell, I like to talk and I like to talk a lot. So thanks for listening in. But it was hard for me when I was used to being in the work setting. And then during COVID, I had to work from home. Like, this is my home office. And I'm like, who am I going to talk to here, right? People are vital. Connections are vital to our happiness. And so as we chase happiness through this life, connection is an important component of how we get that. As we chase happiness, how do we get that? So studies show that there are 3 ways to a longer, healthier, happier life. And here they are. Having good relationships with other people, being content with what life gives us. There's our 3 good things, right? And lastly, being grateful, which we just talked about at length. And which of those cost anything? None of them, right? That means everybody, literally everybody, is capable of a longer, healthier, happier life by incorporating some of these things into their own lives, right? So we really have to stop saying, you know what, gosh, I'll be so happy when I retire in 1 year, 7 months, 18 days, and 4 hours, right? We've all met that coworker, right? Or I'll be so happy when we can finally take that 30th wedding anniversary trip we have planned for in a couple of years. That'll be a great week. Or gosh, I'll be so happy when all the kids are off to college and we can turn their bedroom into our new home office. Now, don't get me wrong. Those are wonderful moments in this life. But at Bounce Back Project, we call them happiness hurdles, right? Because sometimes we throw our happiness like so far out in front of us that we're striving through this day for months or something that's weeks and months and sometimes years in advance. So don't set ourselves up for happiness hurdles. Find our happiness in this day. I'm happy now today because I'm healthy. I'm happy now today because Christmas is one of my favorite seasons. I'm happy now today because I saw the forecast is going to be 50 degrees tomorrow. That brings me great joy in the month of December in Minnesota. I'm happy now today because my family decided that we're not buying gifts and we're just going to do experiences instead, right? What makes you happy in this day instead of chasing happiness through the hurdles of life? So there's a wonderful study called the Harvard Study of Adult Development, and I welcome you to watch this TED Talk when you get a chance. So just to summarize the Harvard study, it started in 1938, and it's still going on, you guys, 85 years later. So they started with 724 young men who were in their early 20s. Half of those gentlemen were sophomores at Harvard University, and the other half of them were from the toughest, poorest neighborhoods of Boston. And they studied these gentlemen throughout their entire lives. Every 2 years or so, checking in from a social perspective. Where do you live? What do you do? How much money do you make? Are you married? Do you have kids? Things like that. Every 5 years or so, from a medical perspective, looking at vital signs, their blood work, their surgical medication history, and eventually CT scans of their brains and MRIs of their brains as well in later years. And as they studied these gentlemen, some of them passed, of course, but they saw that there was a distinct group of gentlemen who outlived the rest of them by 10 to 20 years. And they're like, what in the world did these guys do right? So they looked back at all their valuable data, and the only common denominator that they could find was the guys who lived the longest and outlived the rest of their peers had people they could count on during life's toughest moments. And that was it. It turns out it did not matter where they worked, what they did, how much money they made, or what their cholesterol level was at age 50. None of that projected their longevity as much as did they have people they could count on when life got tough. So let that be a lesson to all of us. Who are your people, right? Who are those handful of people that can support you through life's toughest moments? And we know we need connection because loneliness is not good for any one of us. Loneliness increases our odds of dying early by 45%. Loneliness causes the same amount of damage to your lifespan as smoking 15 cigarettes a day on your physical health. Higher risk of high blood pressure makes it harder to recover from illnesses, especially the mental health concerns that we know are at an all-time high in our communities. So connection is vital. People live longer, but we also know that there's a lot of lonely people in this world. When surveyed years ago, about 40% of Americans admitted to being lonely at any given time. Those numbers are pre-pandemic, you guys. Those numbers are touted to be as much as 60% now, and as high as sometimes 80% in our seniors and young teens. Do you think we're meeting up with any lonely people in our practices? Absolutely, right? And we know that we can be in a room full of 100 people and still be lonely. It's not proximity to human beings, you guys. It's connection, right? It's finding connection over something that we have in common. Right? The love of riding horses as children, or the fact that you both have a golden retriever, or you drive loud Chevy trucks, or you enjoy a cup of coffee from, Caribou, or you go up north to fish in the fall, or whatever it is, right? We need those connections with our coworkers, with our patients, with our family members, because it's the connection that keeps us going. So at Bounce Back Project, we ask you, who are your 4 a.m. friends? Who are those 2, 3, or 4, 5 people that you could literally call at 4 a.m? Whether you were stuck on the side of the road with an automobile, right? Something wrong with your auto. Or maybe you needed a ride to the emergency room. Or maybe you just had a day that you can't imagine one more day. Who would you call? Because think about that doctor that I told you took his own life at work that day. What if he would have walked into the clinic that morning and passed somebody in the hall who said, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you for a while. We should have lunch today." It might have been a whole different day, right? We never know. We just don't know when somebody's to that point. So how do we make sure that we're finding connection, that we're encouraging others to find connection, those new members of our team, those new employees, right? Some of our patients who don't report social connections in their SDOH questionnaire. And we know, especially for young people, that social media makes feelings of loneliness worse, right? As they're starting to look at the highlight reel of others' lives and they start to compare themselves, because comparison's the joy sucker of life, if you ask me, right? So we got to find connection in our own ways. So just in quick summary, you guys, I thank you for your time. Do some random acts of kindness, right? Get out there, do some kind actions as the holiday season ensues. Think about your 3 good things. Start writing it down today and encourage other people to do the same. Ask it around the supper table. Ask it when you tuck your little ones into bed at night. Ask it when you text or talk to your aging mother or you text your teenager. Ask them for something good that happened today and do it routinely. Write a letter of gratitude, if you will, and share those emotions and get it out there to thank someone who's made a difference in your life. And lastly, stay connected. Find your people, not 600 on social media, but 2 or 3 that have your back, no matter what. All right. So Bounce Back Project does have a website, bouncebackproject.org. We have a Facebook page with a lot of sweet messages that you could share on your own social media platform. And if this is a message that resonates you, just know that Centricare does offer free Train the Trainer sessions. They're done virtually. So we literally have people join us from all over the world. It's amazing what Google finds people. And we have some sessions set up for 2024, February 13th in the morning and August 13th in the afternoon. We'd love for you to join us. We dig in a bit deeper, but that allows us to share the capacity and share this message throughout the central Minnesota area. So we'd love for you to join us. And what of these tools will you take with you to do some better work-life balance? Because we're doing it together, you guys. We're bouncing back. We got this. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Kurt and Aaron. Thank you so much for your time and energies today.
Well, I did call Erin this morning, but it wasn't 4 a.m. just to see what color she was wearing.
I'm glad you guys coordinated. You look awesome.
It was more like 7:30, but can you take a few questions? Do you have time?
Absolutely. Sure.
Please, people either chat them in or unmute and ask questions if you have specific questions. I'm going to start by just saying, you talk about your in-laws and they're half empty kind of people. Yeah. So are you saying is this learned?
I think it is. Part of that is, right? Because 50% of our happiness comes through our DNA, right? And so think about that. That's not something we can control as our genetics. And so we have to learn to focus on the positives, right? And that's why this message of resiliency is so important, to teach us little tactics, little tips that we can take with us. So I agree. I do think it's learned. I have 2 kids. One takes after my husband, one takes after me. So can you imagine the discrepancies that ensue on any family get together? Yeah, but I do believe some of it is learned. And so if we're focused on the negative, we might have to just, ante up and do our best.
And then Randy Callahan said, would you mind posting that website and the group you were speaking to?
Yes. So bouncebackproject.org, and I'll put that in the chat here if I can find it. There we go.
And Melissa, I got to tell you, after your last presentation, I started asking my kids when they got off the bus, what were some good things that happened today? And at first they just were like, nothing. Today was horrible. Everything bad happened. But then I started asking, well, what about the small things? You have a roof over your head, or the dog greeted you at the door, or you don't have chores to do tonight. And now it's kind of funny that their brain is trained to look at smaller things as wins or taking joy out of them. So I just thought about how this can be used in so many scenarios, like if you're in leadership and with your staff to pump them up, or with your kids or with your friends. I don't know, the possibilities are endless. And it's just been such an effective tool because it makes me happy listening to what my kids have to say.
Yep, absolutely. And my family did it around the supper table. As I mentioned, my kids weren't going to write anything down for little old me. So I started with that question and they didn't have an answer for me that day. But finally I asked my kids what they had for lunch today. And they said corn dogs. And I said, well, thank goodness you both like corn dogs. Let's write it down. So my family started with corn dogs because you got to start somewhere, right? And so don't be afraid. Anything's better than no answer, right? So absolutely. I love that.
Anybody else with any questions at all? All right. Well, that was fabulous. I think we all are going to take a lot away from that and just look at things that are a little smaller in our lives that make that difference. So we really appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, and I will let you know that the presentations that we do are free because it's part of the work that we do at CentraCare. So if it's a presentation that you would like your group to receive in person and or virtually, we'd be happy to look at that with you. And I know Aaron and Kurt have my contact information, but I will also put it here in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to set something up for next year.
Fabulous.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. And remember, next week, we're going to be talking about hepatitis C and how they do it at Hennepin Healthcare and how you can do it in your community as well. So thanks again for everybody coming.